And guys, good afternoon. What is going on? This is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you for my Major League Baseball 2018 postseason predictions video. Of course, I usually do like a preview, like a prediction video, like recap, like every few months and whatnot. But again, as I've said in past videos, I'm trying again to get myself to talk a little bit more about baseball on my channel. So instead of just doing one video every 4 months, whatnot, I'm going to try to do things a little more often. So instead of just, reviewing the whole season right now, I'm just going to focus on the postseason in this video. I'll, of course, do my recap, the whole season and awards video, and who won what awards after those happen next month in November. But for now, I'm going to do just my postseason predictions. Again, I'm hoping to get some more baseball videos going on this channel as always as well. More talking, discussing baseball and whatnot. But overall, I'll look back and say 2018 season was not a bad season. Especially, first I got a little bit of a sour note over the summer because my Pirates weren't doing too good. They finished, though, with a record of 82-79 because they didn't make a one against the Marlins. But you know what? I'll take it. But I'll talk about that more when I get there. But of course, tonight we have the first wild card. I can't remember which wild card game we have tonight, but we have two wild card games. Actually, probably the American League. I'm going to say because we had two National League games yesterday. I can't remember which. Let me double check that really fast. Which one we have tonight? Let's see here. Come on, show me out at loadmlb.com. Load MLB.com. Please, 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 please. Oh, we have the National League one tonight. Wow, I thought we'd have the American League one since we had two National League teams playing a tiebreaker yesterday. All right, I mean, there's no disadvantage for either one of them. Let's just roll right into it then. So we're gonna I'll start off with the wild card games first. Start off with tonight's game, the National League. We got the Colorado Rockies. Actually, we pull back up and see who's pitching also for these games if we know them right away. So for the wild card game, we got the Colorado Rockies taking on the Chicago Cubs. I believe that game will be in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's what it looks like. We got what was this guy's name again? We have John Lester for the Cubs pitching against Kyle Freeland. Yeah, Kyle Freeland of the Rockies. Now this one's tough because here's the thing. I'm going to do these predictions based off of who I see winning. I mean, I would love to predict as far as who I think. Who I want to win. I mean, personally, I'll be honest and say the team I want to win the World Series that's in the playoffs this year is the Colorado Rockies. Like, I really want the Rockies to win because they haven't won a World Series yet, mainly. They've always been a team that have had great hitters. But of course, as they play in Coors Field, they have no pitching at all whatsoever to begin with. So that really sucks for them. So now, of course, they got Marquez, Freeland, a few other pitchers, can't off the top of my head, that definitely put it together in the start rotation. Bullpen's not too bad either. But of course, their offense with Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story, DJ LeMahieu. Of course, they have David Dahl, who's been back and forth between the majors and minors the past couple seasons. I'm sure next year he'll probably take over. As I think the Rockies will move on. I want to do another video coming up soon of who I think each team needs to part ways with. Also, but I think that person's definitely Ian Desmond. Again, a little overrated contract, but he didn't have too bad of a year at first base for the Rockies. But plus two, I'm sure this might be the last year because they re-signed Carlos Gonzalez for 1 year back in like spring training. So I'm sure it's gonna be the last year for him as well. I mean, he's not as productive as he used to be, but I want to see him get his spotlight because he was definitely one of my favorites back in the day when he was healthy and whatnot. Arenado, Trevor Story, Tony Walters, their catcher, some other guys. That's the reason why I want to root for the Rockies. Like that, they're my number one team I'm rooting for to win the World Series this year. Even though I don't think they're going to get too far, but even though John Lester has the postseason experience, I really am not sure, again, if this will be correct, but I'm at least going to predict the Rockies to get past the wild card game. I'm predicting a 4-3 win over the Cubs tonight. John Lester has plenty of postseason experience. He's definitely worthy of being the starting pitcher. I think he is definitely an advantage for the Cubs, and also they're home. But of course, yesterday they couldn't quite get it against the not as postseason experienced Brewers. Well, I shouldn't say not as postseason experienced because they do have some players on a team like Jonathan Scope, Mike Moustakas, and a couple others as well, and of course probably Travis Shaw as well, who was part of the Red Sox at one point. They do have Lorenzo Cain. I can forget about Lo Cain also. Of course, even though I still don't like him, but Ryan Braun as well doesn't have has some posting experience back in the day when it was the Brewers I strongly disliked. We're not going to go back there, but yeah, my point is, the Brewers didn't have too many experienced players. Well, the Cubs, on the other hand, have been in the playoffs the past 4 seasons. Won the World Series 2016. They were nationally runners up in the National League Championship Series against the Dodgers. Again, I just don't think the Cubs are as difficult of a team as they were in 2015, 2016. Again, there's 2 guys I feel like that was like something more to the Cubs and like leadership and whatever. Sorry, they weren't the best players on the team, but I felt there was something else to them whenever those players were there, and that's David Ross, who retired, even though he was more so of like a third-string catcher who's mainly only there just to catch John Lester. And then Dexter Fowler, still one of the more overrated players in the game, I'd say Dexter Fowler. But for some reason, the Cubs seem like I remember there was a brief time in 2016 where the Cubs were not as good of a team without Dexter Fowler when he was out injured for a while. But when he's playing, it's like that one guy that feels like the pieces are together where that one guy's around, and that was Dexter Fowler. Of course, the Cubs have been able to put away season. They won 95 games this year. That was a little bit more than I expected. Unfortunately, though, they lost the tiebreaker game yesterday to the I'm sorry, expected to still a very strong team, but again, I just don't think the Cubs are as unbeatable as they were years ago. And I personally think, the Rockies had just like one berth of experience, but most of the guys in the Rockies lineup don't have too much postseason experience. Let's put it that way. But I think they can at least get past the Cubs. So I'm going to predict a 4-3 win for the Rockies over the Cubs in the wild card game tonight. Now tomorrow night, we're going to get the Yankees and the Athletics. The Athletics, of course, have been the surprise team this year. Some great young offensive hitters. Their pitching has done well this year as well. But I'll cut the chase here. The Yankees obviously are still the better team. They're experienced, even though they have some new faces on this team. But last year, they had a lot more younger players on their team, such as Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, Luis Servino. Now they have Gleyber Torres, or whatever heck his name is. Didi Gregorius also has been, a young name in there, just who first came in to replace Derek Jeter and whatnot, and a few others as well. Of course, I was fine with them getting as far as his last season, but of course, the Yankees, they gotta go out and get all these big names. They traded for Giancarlo Stanton, who is still personally one of my favorites. I mean, now that Ichiro's not playing more, I still say Stanton's probably my number one favorite, honestly, in the league. He had not too bad of a first year in New York, hit 38 home runs and was healthy, which I was glad about that because he had several non-healthy seasons with the Marlins where he missed some time. But, and of course, here's the other thing too. I really, really don't want to see the Yankees. I would pick anything. I would pick the Athletics over any team in far. The only reason I would support the Yankees a little bit this postseason is because they have my former outfielder, Andrew McCutchen, who's been in there kind of like, I'm not sure how much playing time he's really getting now since, Aaron Judge was out injured most of the second half of the season. But he at least, was, somewhat of a help to the Yankees organization once he definitely came in. Of course, they also have my former second baseman, Neil Walker, more the backup player. So, again, I'm not going to be rooting for the Yankees hardcore this postseason. But, of course, they have Stanton. They have Kutch. They also have Walker. That's the only reason why I would root for the Yankees. But getting back to this, obviously, the Athletics, years ago were a great team. But unfortunately, I don't think they're going to get past the wild card game this year. So, the Yankees, again, weere so close. We're this close to getting to the World Series last year. It's not like, that they, they lost, like, oh, you guys lost. Like, no, like, they came out of that series looking good, and they just missed getting in that postseason, again, into the World Series over the Astros. But, yeah. So, I definitely think the Yankees are going to come off with a victory over the Athletics. I'd say, like 4-1 or 5-1 or something like that. What's up, Larry? Good to see you peeking in this chat. Hope you're having a beautiful day so far. Yes, I am. See you after SmackDown, maybe. Sure thing. And don't forget, Milwaukee. Oh, we're going to be talking about Milwaukee in a second. I'll be discussing the Brewers here shortly. But yeah, tonight, of course, any wrestling fans out there, we will be seeing, what happens tonight with Aiden English and Lana, or Rusev, whenever Aiden English reveals some footage about proof of what happened that one night in Milwaukee, if you know what I mean. But speaking of Milwaukee, actually, I'm going to do that one. Now, actually, you know what? Let's wait for 1 second for Milwaukee. Let's do the National League Division Series first, but not the one with involving the Brewers. The Brewers are going to be taking on the winner of the wild card game. Let's go to the other National League Division Series first. We'll do the National League first, then the American League, as we've been continuing this trend already. So we're starting off now. We'll start off with the Atlanta Braves versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, this one is tough for me. I mean, these playoff picks, again, are pretty tough. Here's the thing. The Dodgers obviously are experienced. They got to the World Series last year. They got Matt Kemp in the offseason, which he had quite a comeback here, I'd say. At one point in the year, he was one of the hottest hitters in the league. They got Manny Machado as well. Big replacement for them after Corey Seager went down with Tommy John surgery earlier this year, which once Corey Seager's healthy again, he's an MVP caliber player, no doubt about it. Justin Turner didn't have quite as good of a year, I don't think. We saw Chris Taylor. Their pitching, not too bad either. I still don't think the Dodgers are as good of a team, though, as they look. Here's the thing. Every year, I always say I feel there's going to be that one team that just surprises us big time, that just comes out of nowhere. You don't think they're going to be that great in the postseason because they're experienced, but they end up being pretty good in general. That team, I think, is going to be the Braves. And why is that? Because the Braves this year built themselves around, and they were one of the bigger winners, I felt, at the trade deadline this year. Acquired some very valuable arms for their starting rotation. And because of that, on top of the young pitching staff they already have, and even with their hitters as well, I really think the Braves are going to be that team this year that are going to, surprise us their experience. Because, like the Astros had last year, and for several years, is the reason why they built it to be a World Series winning team, and why they had 103 wins this year. Also, the Astros, we'll talk about them shortly as well. I really think that the Atlanta Braves are going to put on a good season because, like the Astros, again, they had veterans on their team, and they also had their young players as well. Them working well together is going to bring in winning ball clubs. That's why when the Pirates a couple years ago were having success under the guys like AJ Burnett and several other veterans on their team as well, that definitely brought something else to the table. And I think that's what we've got here with the Braves. I mean, yes, not all their players have their veteran players have postseason experience. However, though, having the veterans around and and mixing with the young guys, I think they have the great chemistry going together. That's why I think the Braves will overcome the Dodgers in this series, and I'm going to say maybe 3-1 or 3-2. I'm going to say 3-1. I'd say. Again, I know the Dodgers have some healthy pitching. Again, they still have some great hitters. I'm not saying the Dodgers can't win it, but I still think the Braves are going to be that surprise team this year that's going to really, surprise. It's going to, surprise us with, the postseason play. So I think the Braves will overcome the Dodgers and win this series 3-1. That's my predictions. I'm going to say for that series. Now let's talk about Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Brewers, which I predicted they'll be facing the Colorado Rockies. Two teams. Well, last year the Rockies got to the wild card game. They did not get past the Diamondbacks, but I thought they were going to get past the Cubs. And again, I'm rooting for the Colorado Rockies to win the World Series. Again, that's not who I'm going to see. I don't think they're going to win it in these predictions, but who's I'm going to be rooting for? Let's be honest here also. For those of you who know me very well, can say probably about at least the earliest 10 years ago, I hated the Milwaukee Brewers. Absolutely hated them. They just had like all these like cocky players on the team that I just couldn't stand watching it. I just thought they were all jerks and just show offs and not humble people whatsoever, such as Ryan Braun, Unieski Betancourt, Carlos Gomez, for crying out loud. Oh my gosh, I still can't stand him to this day. Nyjer Morgan, Tony Plush. Oh my gosh. And there was several others there as well. The only one that I could think of that I actually liked, even though I thought at times he'd be a little bit of a show off, was Prince Fielder. I loved Prince Fielder. He was awesome. But like Ryan Braun, Unieski Betancourt, Nyjer Morgan, Carlos Gomez. Again, the top two out of them, again, my order from top two, Ryan Braun, Carlos Gomez, then Nyjer, then Betancourt. Oh my goodness. That Tony Plush stuff, though, with Nyjer Morgan just drove me insane. I just didn't like what the team brought to the table, honestly, as, a baseball fan. I just thought they were a very, unhumble team, unsportsmanlike, just very full of themselves. I couldn't stand them. But now, 10 years later, I'll give them credit that they're a good ball team. And, again, the only person on this team I really can't stand is Ryan Braun. They have a great, talented team on there with Lorenzo Cain. I thought he was awesome with the Royals. He brings a lot of experience to the table. Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich, my goodness. Early spoiler right now, I think he should be the National League MVP. I know a lot of people were saying Javier Baez, which, maybe, but I don't think, he had the power numbers with 34 home runs, 111 RBIs last I knew. But I don't think with the average, I don't think he's going to quite get there because, we got Christian Yelich, was the hottest hitter in the league after the All-Star break, leading the National League in batting average, 36 home runs, 100-some RBIs. I think he's got it locked up. I mean, you can argue also maybe Nolan Arenado. Like my final three candidates, I feel should be Javier Baez, Nolan Arenado, and Christian Yelich. Maybe Paul Goldschmidt, but he didn't start off the season too good. But I think Christian Yelich deserves to be MVP. Hats off to him for having an awesome season in Milwaukee. Like him and Lo Cain were great pickups for the Brewers. The Brewers also have a stacked infield as well. And Mike Moustakas, Jonathan Scope, and Travis Shaw. They do have Orlando Arcia, who, obviously lost some playing time because you couldn't keep Travis Shaw and Jonathan Scope out of the lineup. There were two great pickups. I keep forgetting who's playing first base for them. I mean, I knew it was Eric Thames at one point, but I thought they had someone else in there playing first base. I can't remember who it was. You also got to keep it credit. They do have Curtis Granderson on their bench. They do also have what's his name? Domingo Santana, who, obviously, bad luck for him was with the acquisitions of Cain and Braun. I think they still wanted Santana to prove on some things a little bit. I think he did spend some time in the minors this year, which kind of sucks. He hit like 30-some home runs and drove like 80 RBIs year before. Maybe it was his defense. Can't remember exactly why they would put him down in the minors, but obviously, this long story short, the Brewers do have a stacked line, but players, of course, unlike 10 years ago, of players that I can tolerate. Of course, the only problem is their pitching, like the Rockies, their pitching, they went out, they had a stacked bench there. They could have gone rid of a player like, either, Domingo Santana or maybe someone else to get another starter for them. And that's the biggest thing I feel the Brewers missed out on at the trade deadline was getting another starting pitcher. Well, they did eventually get one in Gio Gonzalez. And yes, you're right, Larry. Milwaukee will be the most over thing tonight on SmackDown Live. But I still don't think, Gio Gonzalez, yes, was the Nationals, but look at the Nationals postseason experience when they were in the playoffs. They never got past the first round. So I don't think Gio Gonzalez was quite enough. I mean, I don't know, maybe it'll be a change in scenery, seeing what happens wherever they get what I think there. There's a change of scenery where it could be different this time around, but I still don't think I think the Brewers missed out there. However, though, my prediction, I think it's going to be a close series, but I think even though I'm rooting for the Rockies go all the way, I think the Brewers will win this series 3-2, solely because they have more players on their team like Moustakas, Locane, Travis Shaw. Again, I hate to say it again. The only person I will be booing like crazy during this World Series, this playoff series, is Ryan Braun, because I continue to dislike that man so much. Anyways, getting off track here. But I think the Milwaukee Brewers win 3-2 solely based on because they have more guys that are experienced, especially with Locane and Moustakas, being, former World Series winners and having a lot of experience the past 2 years in the World Series as well. So I think that the Milwaukee Brewers, despite the fact that I root for the Rockies, the Brewers will overcome this series 3-2. So that's what I'm going to say. We'll have the championship series, what I'll talk about in a little bit, will be the Braves and Brewers, but we'll get back to that later on, as we're going to now move on over to the American League division series. And we're going to start off with first the games that involve in the two teams that weren't involved in the wild card, of course, well, at least one of them at least, the Astros and Indians. Last year, the Astros had to overcome, I'm trying to remember who they overcame, the Yankees. Who was the other first team they had to overcome? I'm trying to remember now. Red Sox. Yeah, Red Sox, I believe it was. The Astros, obviously, again, last year's World Series champions. They got they got big starting pitcher over the offseason in Garrett Cole from the Pirates. He's had a great year for them. Their young offense, of course, is experience, continue to improve together. They had their veterans. Justin Verlander had a big bounce back year, I feel, because he was with Detroit. He was starting to fade off big time. And then they moved over to Houston at the last minute at the waivers trade deadline last year. And then they also had some other starting pitchers come in, and their bullpen has still been great as well. They have all the pieces to the puzzle. The Indians, of course, still do also with their young talent, Francisco Lindor, Jose Ramirez, and their pitching as well is great. But I still think, based off experience, I think the Astros will overcome the Indians. I think this is probably the one series, I'm the weakest series, I feel, out of all the division series. It's probably going to be the weakest, I feel. But I still think, the Astros will overcome the Indians, at least get to the championship series 3-1, I'm going to say. They have great pitching, the Astros and Indians, but I think the Astros obviously, have the bigger drive with their young talent. Again, the Indians had the experience getting to the postseason. The World Series in 2016. They put on them and the Cubs put on a great World Series. So did the Dodgers and Astros last year, especially in that Game 5. Literally that series between the Astros and Dodgers last year, no lead at all in that series was safe, especially again, that Game 5. That was an unreal game. Again, I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning on my vacation with my dad and my uncles last year watching that. That was an unreal game. But I think the Astros, with their a little bit stronger starting pitcher, the Indians, I think they will be the ones to defeat the Indians 3-1, I feel. But the Indians will put on a strong showing as well. They're not going to get blown out. I don't see any blowouts happening this postseason, but I think that's what we'll see there. And the second series, which of course, this is more so a championship series than a division series. The Yankees and Red Sox. The Yankees and Red Sox were, of course, probably the two best teams in the league this year. Well, of course, we got the Astros also. We had three teams in the American League who won 100 games this year. The Red Sox won 108, I believe, which is the most we've seen in quite a while. I think the last time we got close to that high was, I think, the 2005 Cardinals, who went 105-57. Of course, the highest record I can think of off the top of my head was the 2001 Mariners, 116-46, which I think one time the Red Sox did go into a small little funk, which I thought they were going to eventually. Of course, I thought the 2016 Cubs were going to be 120 game winners, but of course, like I said, when they didn't have Dexter Fowler in their lineup, they went into a little bit of a funk there. But I'm going to think about this series more. This series is definitely going to be tough, only a division series. This should be a championship series, in my honest opinion. The Red Sox obviously have a great offense. Mookie Betts, J.D. Martinez, Ian Kinsler, and Brock Holt around an injured Dustin Pedroia, Xander Bogaerts. I'm trying to remember who their first baseman was. They had Jackie Bradley Jr., but I do think he's still a little overrated. But their pitching, of course, has been unreal this year also. However, though, here's the thing. It's going to be a close one. But I personally still think the Yankees are going to overcome them. I said at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and even this season also, the end of the year, I still think the Yankees, well, I guess think about it. Last year, their young talent almost got them to the World Series. They didn't have as many, experienced talent. I mean, yes, Stan hasn't been in the playoffs yet. Kutch had some playoff experience, but their younger talent and some of the veterans they acquired to bolster that bullpen for them, like Zach Britton and whatnot, they all postseason experience. And even though they weren't able to catch up to the Red Sox, I still think the Yankees are going to overcome the Red Sox 3-2. A close series, but again, with how they literally, even though they didn't win the World Series last year, they still came out looking like a winning team in that series against the Astros. It was tight, close. Like the Astros, came out looking great too, but they just got by them. Like it was a tight race. I feel the Yankees are going to come out swinging big time in this year's World Series. Of course, Aaron Boone, his first year as manager, I think he did a great job. The Yankees, even though they just stat themselves with big money talents. So I think though they're going to just edge the Red Sox. I'm still going to say that they're going to just edge the Red Sox. Really, this World Series you're going to be the Yankees and Red Sox, which kind of makes it obvious that who I think will win the World Series. But we'll get to that shortly. But I think it's going to be the Yankees overcoming the Red Sox 3-2 in the series. So the championship series will be a rematch from last year's, the Astros and Yankees. Who will win it? I will get to that later. But let's go back to the National League Championship Series. National League Championship Series, we're going to have the Braves and the Brewers, two fresh new teams getting this far in the playoffs. And again, now here's the thing. Again, of course, I keep saying this. Of course, we know what's made some World Series teams, the differences in the playoffs, of course, has been the pitching. Just ask the Giants, who won the World Series in 2010, 2012, and 2014, which it was an even year. They didn't have a winning season. I mean, they kind of broke that thing in 2016 when they didn't get past the division series against the Cubs, even though I was rooting for the Cubs that year to win the World Series. Of course, the Giants, those 3 seasons when they won the World Series, they didn't have the greatest hitting on the planet. I'll give them that, they didn't. But it was their pitching that kept them going and that helped them win those World Series. Again, as I said before, the Braves have mix of veterans and young talent. Somewhat too with the Brewers, but again, let's go back to that thing I said about the pitching. Even though the Brewers acquired Gio Gonzalez from the Nationals, and they still have some decent pitching still in the young talent, their pitching is not as experienced in the playoffs, I feel, than the Brewers. The Braves. The Braves, I feel, have the veterans and the young talent, again, that are going to put it together, and they have the great hitting. So because of that, the pitching is going to outdo the Brewers a little bit. That's why I'm going to say, to my surprise, I don't know if I thought I saw this team get into the playoffs. Well, I actually probably didn't, because I probably thought the Nationals were going to run away with the division this year. It did not happen, unfortunately, and it's the end of the Bryce Harper era for the Washington Nationals. But I think 4-2, we're going to see the Braves be the National League pennant winners this year. Again, their young talent and their pitching, I think it's going to be the Braves. I think the Braves will be the team to win the National League Championship Series. Again, the Brewers will put up a good fight as well, but I think their pitching is going to only give them 2 wins out of this series. I'm going to say 4-2 for the Braves and Brewers series, and the Braves will advance to the World Series for the first time since the 90s, I believe it was last time the Braves went to the World Series. I think they won in '95. I can't remember if they got there were any of the World Series teams. But I remember there was them the Mets. I think the Yankees and Padres were one year. I believe wasn't one year the Yankees, when Yankees were winning World Series year after year. The Braves were in. I can't remember for sure, but I think the Braves are going to be that team that just surprises us with their experience this year. And they will advance to the World Series against either the Yankees or Astros. Talk about them next. Obviously, this is a recap from last year's American League Championship Series. Even though, again, the Astros got the great pitching, the big upgrade in Garrett Cole, which hats off to my former pitcher my former ace, Garrett Cole. You had an unreal year. I'm happy for you that you got to play for a great ball team like the Astros. And I do like the Astros. They're really good. I still see the Yankees, though, winning this series in 7, though. 4 games to 3. Again, last year, the Astros, besides adding Garrett Cole, have the same team. They're experienced, though. They can definitely win the World Series. I mean, if they get to the World Series, I definitely see them having a chance to win it. I wouldn't be opposed to the Astros winning back-to-back World Series because last year was their first time ever won the World Series. But I personally think the Yankees, with their offense, their pitching, their bullpen especially, I think this year, since last year, they just missed getting into the World Series. As they went down, looking great. Like they were the team last year that went down, that went down with a true fight. Of course, they looked like the Astros were going to first, flounder and have the Yankees sneak right by, which I would not have been happy about, of course. And I'm still not going to, again, I'm only going to be okay with this because of Koch. But I'm not going to be rooting for them, but I still think it's going to be the Yankees getting to the World Series against the Braves. The Yankees will overcome the Astros in 7 games, a close series, but I think it's going to be the Yankees. So we got the World Series, Braves and Yankees. This is where I feel it's going to be not as close. I mean, yes, I do think, the Braves will put up a good fight against the Yankees, but I think the Yankees are going to win this series either 4 games to 1 or 4 games to 2. And your MVP, Giancarlo Stanton. I'm going to predict that right now. Giancarlo Stanton will be your your World Series MVP. I think in the beginning of the year, I thought it was going to be the Yankees and Giants because I really thought the Giants were going to have a better year because they're experienced pitching. Of course, most of their good pitchers were injured this year and starting to show that most of them are starting to get old. Also, I thought, Kutch would, be a big – Kutch and Longoria would be, big upgrades for their team. Unfortunately, didn't work out as planned. They placed 4th in their division, Giants. But I think the Yankees win the World Series with Giancarlo Stanton being their MVP. But let's go over it again. I have the Rockies beating the Cubs in tonight's wild card game. The Yankees overcoming the Athletics in the wild card game. The Dodgers losing to the Braves 3 games to 1 in the National Division Series. 3 games to 2 series between the Braves over the Rockies. American Division Series, I got the Astros over the Indians 3 games to 1. Yankees over the Red Sox 3 games to 2. Championship Series, the Braves will overcome the Brewers 4 games to 2. 4 games to 3, Yankees over the Astros. I think the Yankees will win the World Series 4 games to 2 over the Atlanta Braves with Giancarlo Stanton as your World Series MVP. But guys, that is my predictions for the MLB 2018 postseason. Again, thank you for joining me live, or you'll leave your thoughts afterwards on who you think will win each round of the playoffs this year. Again, of course, I'm looking forward to them as well. It's definitely an exciting time of the year for a baseball fan. Even though, here's my thing. Also, I want to talk about this again. I probably talked about this last year. If something happens, the Yankees lose that wild card game, I still will not be surprised. My mom and a lot of people have been saying this for years since that wild card game came to be. Don't be surprised if the Yankees lose the wild card game because they won 100 games this year and they're the Yankees. Don't be surprised if they next year make the wild card game a 2 out of 3 series, which should happen. But of course, it's going to take a team like the Yankees to get screwed in a wild card game, a 1-game playoffs. To me, it's no different than game 163. That's all this wild card game feels like. It's just game 163 again. Of course, for some teams, it's going to be, game 164, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so Yankees going to win the World Series, in my opinion, even though I'm going to be rooting for the Rockies. Although, personally, I still think the true threats to win the World Series are either going to be the Yankees and Red Sox. Maybe the Astros, but the biggest threats I still think are the Yankees and Red Sox. But they're getting that out of the way in the American Division Series. So, guys, once again, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below of who you think is going to be winning each round and who will be winning the World Series 2018. Again, I will try to get a couple more baseball videos, my recap of the entire season and the postseason awards. And the recap of the awards after they're announced next month in November. Again, I'll also do a video also talking about some of the free agents this offseason, where I think they want to go, what's going to happen with them, or who I think each team should cut ties with and just move on from them. I'll do that later on. some of them later on after the World Series as well. So, guys, can leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Sure, always click buy, like, and subscribe. Work on comment channel. Follow me on Twitter at @DemandAirBrownie3. And maybe you guys are wrestling fans. I will see you guys later on tonight for my live review of SmackDown Live. So, until then, guys, I'll catch you all later. So, until then, guys, have a great rest of your day, and peace out, everybody.